This show is part of the HeadStuff podcast network.
Thank you for coming into the meeting. This is a HR meeting with YHGHR. And there has been a number of complaints about your conduct as a listener.
Well, it's been awful.
We're going to let you have your say, but here are the allegations. Tardiness, number one.
Yes. Not listening to the podcast as it comes out.
Not listening to the podcast on the day it comes out. This is supposed to be listened to of a Thursday.
Appraisals. You have not been reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
5 stars.
You have been putting it on in the sitting room, and then you've been dashing off to the kitchen, missing valuable moments of what could be podcast gold.
Yes.
You're not watching on YouTube, so you can't see that we're all doing a joke with our fist at the moment.
Yeah, you need to be watching on YouTube, and you also need to be commenting on the YouTube video and saying, Killian is so gas, he really cracks me up. You haven't been doing that. That needs to be increased by, I'd say, 10 to 15%.
Well, there would have had to have been at least one comment first for a percentage, because, if 200% of 0 is still 0 at the moment. So maybe instead of percentage, it would be like, can we have 1? And then maybe we work towards that percentage as we go on. Sorry, we should have had this offline.
Not one of you has tried to catfish us. Now, we don't want to be we're not going to send out news or anything.
Why do you think I cut my hair?
But we want to feel desired. We are entitled. Everybody wants that. Yeah. Everybody wants to feel sexy at times. Yeah. No one has come fishing for nudes from us. That is a disgrace.
It's really a disgrace.
That is a disgrace.
It's not hard as well. Sorry.
No,
it's not difficult.
We would be
very difficult.
We would be an open book in terms of that.
To be honest, we might do it.
Yeah.
Or maybe a picture lasts forever. Say after a gig, I'll just show you whatever. I could do something like that. That would be okay.
Just ask him.
Just ask. I mean, no one's even
Just ask.
I want to feel under pressure.
Shane does this thing when he finishes at the end of the show. He says, "Hey, and if you want to be around for photos, I'll be around later after the show. You just come and meet me." And then he walks off the stage and walks into the bathroom and just stands there.
No, I'll do it in the foyer. I'll do it in the foyer, depending on the venue. Upper foyer, lower foyer. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure, but we will obviously try and avoid fire exits, that kind of thing. But I will. I'll show you. Whatever.
How do you feel you've done?
Yeah, and I want you all to do that now, wherever you are, in the gym, in your work, on your commute, in the home, in the car.
Cleaning.
Answer now.
And just to make sure,
just want to give space to
hold space.
Okay, sorry, just give space. All right.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Didn't
Jesus
need to say that.
Okay, well, sorry.
But this is just to let them know, HR, we're your friend. Yeah.
We're not scary like HR Geiger pictures. Spooky aliens. That
we're your mate. We're on your side. No. Yeah. Tell us who you have a complaint about specifically.
We just want you to feel comfortable so that you can do your own listenership free of and we love you.
Yeah, we definitely enjoy spending time with you. Yeah.
They're attractive.
They're very attractive.
Hot and loud.
And a little bit sad.
He was the best guy around.
Oh my, is it hot in here or what?
You're an attractive guy.
It's the fabulous Tony Cantwell.
I'm talking about Shane Byrne.
I just had a horrible nightmare. All the beers were not Irish owned, and they were raising their prices like crazy. It was just going up and up.
Killian, baby, don't you worry about that. We have Rera in the house.
Wake up, baby.
Rera, wake up, honey. That's just a nightmare you had.
Oh,
we got Rera. It's 100% Irish owned.
It's independent. It's not a multinational.
How does it taste?
Oh, it's light and fresh.
It's brewed locally in Kilcool, County Wicklow, honey.
It's not, don't you worry about the price hike. It's not going to be going up until January 2026. That's a commitment from Rera, baby.
I'm just going to go back to sleep and
dream.
They
care about us. They care about comedy. They're supporting this podcast.
Oh, that's so lovely. Nice.
Now spoon me for a change.
Okay, sir.
Ooh.
Sir.
I don't know.
Daddy? Guys, it's been a fantastic week for Ireland. It's been a fantastic week for young hot guys.
Why?
I don't know. I was just trying to get something going with a bit of a nice energy.
Oh, okay. Well, do you know what? Remember I was getting surgery there last week and I didn't say it on the podcast?
You didn't say it on the pod. And we didn't ask you about it already this morning. We should have.
And I wasn't going to talk about it even now, but I was on Ireland AM and Tommy Bowe and Byrne got it out of me when before the cameras were rolling, I revealed that I'd had a vasectomy. And then they were like...
Vasectomy.
And they said, don't mind this Eurovision bollocks you're going to be talking about. Let's talk about that. And then immediately threw me under the bus.
How
when we were talking about it.
Easy... I'd say that Tommy literally went, hey, Tony, how are you? He's like, fine, I got a vasectomy, okay?
Yeah, well, you listen. No, they were talking about me cutting my hair, and they posted a lovely picture of me and my hair, which is very nice of them. Thank you very much. As a professional attention seeker, it was very nice to have a whole segment of a breakfast show dedicated to my hair.
Yeah, I didn't even know you were on this.
No, I didn't really post about it. Look,
You snuck off.
Well, look, it's got bigger reach, than anything. So I would have imagined everyone was talking about it the next day.
Yes, they were.
Yes. And a lot of people
News of the world.
in our demographic would certainly be watching Ireland
Definitely
AM.
at 9:20
Yeah.
when people aren't in work. I know. Thank you very much for having me on.
I know. I got in a taxi and the guy was like, "Did you see your man on the telly got his witty cut off?" And I was like, "Oh wow!" And he got his hair cut as well.
So hold on, we need to hear. I'm intrigued to hear.
I had a vasectomy. Yes, I had a vasectomy. And just as this was Tommy.
I would
Bowes.
like to talk to Tommy Bow about my balls.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Or his balls.
Oh yeah, whatever. All parts of his body.
Would be good.
His
Penis.
forearms
That
are
would
his
be-
most impressive.
Penis.
His penis would
His
be nice.
forearms as well.
Well, he did talk about his penis. He was telling me. He was saying about.
Tony took a brief moment to go.
Tony,
Is this worth
can
saying
I-
this?
No, he said two things, and he was like, "What do you think of the smell?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "The smell." And he's like, "Did you not have a smell?" And I was like, "No." And he was talking about how they burn.
Yes.
So the process.
Has
is
he had a
that they
vasectomy
burn.
as
He
well?
had had a vasectomy.
Okay, good for
And
you.
he's like, "And what did you think about the bit where they tape your willy up?" And I was all like, "Yeah, that was really interesting." And we talked about that for a little
So
while.
talk us through.
incredible.
I'll talk to you. So
And try not to be too gory if there's
I
gore.
won't be too gory.
Yes.
Don't mind the
Don't
people
be
of
a
Wexford. There you are now.
Got there quick.
So I went to get a vasectomy because I think I'm just having a bit of a breakdown at the moment. I think I cut my hair and had a vasectomy. I think I'm having, the kind of middle class equivalent of a Britney Spears meltdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I'm not touring at the moment and I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, I'm just going to cut my hair and get rid of all my spunk forever now. And it was things I wanted to do. No, I saw this thing online, right? And it was like no scalpel, no needles, right? And I'm like, that sounds very interesting. What they don't tell you is instead of scalpels and needles for the vasectomy, they use fire. They use fire and they burn into, they Shane Daniel burn a hole in your bollocks. And then they clamp a tube while they're in there. And it wasn't sore, but you do smell burning flesh. I realized that's what Tommy was talking about, not the smell of his balls or something like that, his penis. But they do burn, and so that's weird. But I tell you, the most painful part of it is, right, they spray on your balls a numbing agent, right? And but like, so you just think it's like, but the way it comes out is kind of like it just goes, and it like blasts.
Yeah.
This kind of numbing thing, and they spray a lot of it, like,
Yeah.
and so that hurt a little bit. But I tell you, when the man was doing it, he said, "Can I pay you an odd compliment?"
Oh my God.
And
You
I
know
was
what's
like,
coming.
"Well, not anymore. I've had that clamp. I can't come anymore."
Have
Okay,
the
go on,
biggest
go on.
balls.
He said, now obviously this is a man who works with the sperm duct, which is the name of the duct is the vas deferens is the name of that, I think. And he works with that a lot. And he's like, "Can I pay you an odd compliment? You have one of the more pronounced vas deferens I've ever seen." And I made it very, obviously it can never off the bloody clock. I said, "So tell me, doctor, I'm assuming you're a doctor. Would you say, you say, so would you say that there is a vast difference between me and the rest of the lads you've had in?"
Yay!
And he was like, no.
He's like, "Mr. Cantwell, I am working, please."
Please stop this.
Oh, good for you and your vast deference.
Good for me and my
So you
vas
got a
deferens.
massive vas deference.
Yes, I asked if that made me any more fertile, and he said no. But then the nurse was like, more room to swim through, though.
Oh.
So maybe, you know what I mean? But not anymore. But I did, I was thinking though, I think because I like having things going for me, like any kind of thing. If someone's like, "Oh, you've got a big sperm duct or something like that," I'm like, "Oh, that's the thing I can add to my tally of things that I have." You know,
Yes.
my scout badge. You know, big sperm duct. I think if I'd known that beforehand, I probably wouldn't have got it done.
You wouldn't be like, "I'm not going to ruin it." When you have a gem
Yeah.
like
When
the
you've got a
vast
gem.
deference like I
I
have.
came up to Terry and I was like, "Look, I think I just, I wouldn't have got it done." And maybe we were like, "Look, Terry,
And is it
I've been
uncomfortable
chosen."
then after, or what's the story?
No,
I need to fertilize the earth. Terry, God has given me the largest vas deferens
I have
in
the
the world.
largest. Call me Genghis Khan. Genghis Cantwell. And I'm going to walk the earth, fertilizing consensually.
My cavernous vas
I
deferens.
don't think that Genghis Khan did a lot of consensual. I think he did a lot of the other.
I'd look into that now. Can we please have a real conversation about no?
Was it painful then?
No, it wasn't painful. And it was really nice.
Your vast deference.
My vast deference. No, he said, he was like, "Are you nervous about it?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Because if you're nervous, I can prescribe you some Xanax." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm bricking it."
Oh yeah, get that.
Yeah, get that. I still have that there.
Let's get medicated like Americans seem to.
Yes.
I know.
I want it all to be just like fucked up tripping balls all the
You're
time.
one, the mother in Flying Lotus.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
no, White Lotus.
The White Lotus.
The White Lotus.
Do you know I am like that series of White Lotus is not as good. We can all admit now it's gone on long enough that we're like this isn't
good,
as
though.
good.
It's
It's
still a
not
good
as
show.
good.
Yeah,
It's not as
yeah,
good. The
yeah.
people aren't as sexy.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of problems with it. But I think I'm finished. I'm as gay as everyone else, but I am kind of finished with that woman of like, I love drinking. I love taking my what does she take? Diazepam or whatever she takes.
Oh yeah.
I kind of am finished with that character now, and obviously I love her. I love her.
Piper.
Yeah, I love the actress and all that stuff. But I think I'm finished seeing that, and I've seen the gays trying to make memes out of it this season, and they're like, when she says she'll drink herself to sleep, yes, mother, and you're like, yeah, but it's actually, I think we're finished with that now. And I love Mike White. I love his earlier shows. That one with Laura Dern, excellent television. If you ever watched it, obviously I can't remember the name. Now I want to bring it back to balls, if I may.
Yes, you may, of course. Please, I've been
I
waiting.
was talking to a friend, and people, you know what? People talk. You know, we talk about dicks on balls, and then people also will say,
We're a men's health
for
podcast.
goodness sake, all the talk of dicks and balls. This is men's health. This is what you're allowed to talk about. This. A friend of mine was telling me the other day that he had the way he described it was, well, I had to go to the doctor to get my balls fondled. And obviously he was just, that was the little joke, right? Because men need a little joke to get through that. His balls were fine. He has something, just it just doesn't matter. Anyway, so he has a thing that they just keep an eye on, whatever.
Brushed over.
And he was balls fondled, and he was saying, oh, she said, da-da-da-da-da. She said she can get a man. Because, I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, because I'm generally only naked in front of men, I would find it very uncomfortable to be naked in front of a lady. I found that one time I was in, years ago, when you used to get your sexual health tested as a gay man, the Gay Men's Health Service, which was a really fun place at the time, because you would go and you'd see every person you know and you go, hiya. Because there'd be hundreds of you all in there. Yeah, hundreds of them together. And it used to be the now it's a very nurse-led situation and you do your own swabs. But the nurse, the doctors used to examine everybody and they do a full exam every time, even if you were asymptomatic. And one time it was a lady and she was an older lady. She was just a bit rough, I found.
Oh, yeah.
She was just a bit rough. And I was like, I don't know if that's put me off, but I said to my friend the other day, I was like, when she said, oh, I can get a man, I'd be like, yeah, would you mind? Even though I know that's a doctor. I know that she's just there to be a doctor, but I was still like, I'm shy, I'm a lady.
And this lady, what is her exact address? Just so I know, she was very rough with you, just so I know never to go there.
Thinking that when the nurse was chiming in about good room for swimming and your vas deferens, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know, I just find it...
It needs to be a bit of crack, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it needs to be, with care and stuff. But like, it's like that time I was in for my giant ball, and I said to the doctor, I was like, here, see that big nut? Joe would love that, the squirrel from the Ice Age films. And he didn't.
This could be very serious.
This could be very serious. And it's like, can we not, like, if I'm even just like offering something, can you not just be like, very good? That's brilliant, actually. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to make the joke yourself, but can we not have a bit of fun?
I'd say they say later. I'd say they laugh later.
You could have offered him, look, I'm sure you've heard them all, and then he would say, we've heard them all.
Yeah.
He could have given you that, like, so he could have had some.
List your favorites. I should have said then.
Yeah,
I've heard them all. List your favorites. Just with one fella, and he was like, "That's a coconut." It wasn't very good. That's all I can think of right now.
I'm sorry, I'm working on that at the moment.
Just working on that at the moment.
Anyway, Killian, anything on your penis and balls?
Penis and balls, doing okay. Mammy okay, baby okay.
Let me think. Mammy okay, baby okay.
Great. That's
great.
good news.
Yeah. It's all good. Everything's great. I had a request from the Keep It Tight podcast to literally Emma just going, hey, we're talking about nudity in Germans. Can you talk a bit about that? And sent me a voice message. So I sent her one over, but I was talking about how the difference between Irish people and German people with nudity and stuff, and like my dad changing with his sort of sack bum kind of system. And I was talking about this. Oh yeah,
Can you just wait? Sack boom meaning like boom 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 rather than sack and bum.
Sack. Oh yeah,
is it sack and bum?
You mean like broom broom broom, drum drum drum. Sack boom sounds like sack and bum in the context.
A bit of context.
Sorry, it's a very penisy podcast today, but that is okay because it's men's health.
It's basically, my dad is not very good at making noise kind of like
sound effects.
He's very bad. So, for example, he uses the sound Wheeet Pong for most things.
Okay.
So, for example, I think it started when he used to talk about how his mum used to wake him up in the morning as a schoolboy, and she would throw an apple at his head, and he would go Wheeet Pong, That was the apple. But then
That's not bad.
yeah, but
That's
then that
applicable.
also became in the same sort of story about his childhood in Germany. They'd jump into the river, Wheeet Pong,
Okay.
and then you're like, oh, okay. And then he's like, and then I'd cycle into school on the bike, Wheeet Pong, and then you're like, oh, this man has one noise.
So Old MacDonald would have been, on the farm there was a pig with a whip pom here and a whip pom there. Jesus.
They're a pong.
They're everywhere, a whip pong.
Exactly.
I like that story you told us before years ago. It's my favorite of your dad's stories. I think maybe in the first one I got from you. And then you were talking about him at the beach and he just like changed his, like just stood there and no towel dance, just trousers down and then put on his shorts. And you were all like, oh God, Dad. And he said, oh, come on, it's just your body.
Yeah.
Which I just found,
Yes.
I just really love it.
Yes,
it's just
I love
your
that.
body.
Yeah,
Just
and
your
like
body.
when I was a kid, I remember this. Like you'd be watching German TV as a kid. I, 7, 8, 9 years old or whatever, and full on tits. Big Brother Germany, tits all over it, and you're a little kid watching it, and then you'd be like, turning to your dad, like, what's going on here? Like, this is kind of, you're too young to even like go, whoa. You're like, what is it? This is kind of weird. And your dad is like, yeah, that's just the body. It's okay. That's just the body. I'm like, actually, I think going a bit too aggressively in that direction. I was like, maybe we shouldn't have been watching some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Or like if you're walking down the street in Germany, like the sex shops, just full tits in the windows. And like the magazines.
Full tits a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Full
Big
tits.
full tits.
Tits. Yeah. Is that allowed? You can say that?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But that's like just as a child, like that's what I remember. And I'm like, wow, like in Ireland, they're covered up.
You've unraveled something in my brain. A dormant, a nostalgic memory.
I hope it's not your
It's
vast deference.
Keep that tightened up.
Keep it tight. Look, I like to keep my vast deference. Like my favorite podcast, keep it tight. Remember on the telly, there was a channel and there was French shit on it. Maybe it was TV5 or something like that.
TV5.
TV5. Well, TV5 would occasionally just show some like reality TV shows. And there was one that was kind of like The Crystal Maze. And there was a bunch of French people running around. And sometimes you'd see tits on it.
Right.
And it would only be at about...
Full tits?
Full tits.
Right.
Full-blown tits. And sometimes you'd see that. I mean, 2 o'clock in the day, maybe even. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you were never in the mood then. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, this is kind of,
Yeah.
But it's unraveled something there. I must look into that now. Go. Questions? Any questions?
No, I think we've
Yeah,
cleared
I
all that
remember
up.
there were some weird channels that you'd have watch. I don't know, but I remember like Euro News. Like there was just like news, but Euro. Like that kind of thing, like just weird channels that you turn on, and you would scroll through and see, and like sometimes you might see a breast or even an arse in a certain show, and you'd watch through hours of boring
sometimes.
American kind of like hospital drama because you're like, I think there, or the L word or something like that. You're like, I think there might be an arse or a breast or something in this that I can watch. So I'm gonna.
I mean,
what's that story about Ray staying up to watch that show?
I think I told it the podcast quite recently, but that Raymond waited, he saw something as a teenager in the channels listed and he was like, oh wait, there's something there, that'll be something juicy in that. And he waited till 3 a.m. to watch it and the thing came on. What he looked up in the listings was loose women. And it wasn't just loose women, it wasn't just a repeat of loose women on at nighttime for shift workers, it was loose women with the British Sign Language interpretation in the corner.
That's hot.
So
I stayed up so late one time because I had, when you find out about sex from the dictionary,
yeah,
which is what I did. And then I was like, I wonder if books are going out, wonder sexy books are there. And I found out about, I think I saw like the Kama Sutra before in a library. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw that there was an Indian movie on the telly. And I was like, oh, well, the only thing I know about India
to be doing Kama
is the
Sutra.
Kama Sutra. And so I stayed up till about 1 a.m. and I watched a 3-hour Bollywood movie. And I was waiting and I was so horny. I was horny like for ages.
But they'd be famously quite conservative actually.
They would actually be quite conservative. And I wouldn't find the kind of, I won't do the accent, but that kind of pitch and they sing like this. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Was not doing much for me, I would say at the time, And I'd love to say that was the last time I did that. But, I think maybe I just watched the wrong one.
Sometimes you see older comedians, right? So who are maybe 20 years older than us or more. And they're doing this stand-up, Irish comedians do stand-up on stage and they're like, Irish people aren't able for that. They say something about sex or whatever. And they're like, we're not able for that. We wouldn't talk about that. And I think there's this real gap where I was like, sometimes I'm watching, I was saying to, I think it was Fiona Frawley the other day, comedian and star. and on tour at the moment, Fiona Frawley. Come see her at Fiona Frawley.
Well, actually not last week.
And we were saying, that's just not relevant for our generation. Like, it was like, we all talk about sex all the time, I feel. I feel like, it's a while since I was courting. But like, I feel when I was courting...
A Q-U-O-R-T.
Courting. It's a while since I was... for queer. Courting. It's a while since I was courting. Queer courting representation is so important. We need spaces for courting. I feel like...
I'm going to break down the difference between courting and courting, okay? My 5-minute TikTok.
This is one of those moments in the podcast where I'm conscious of my parents listening, but I'm going to plow on anyway. I feel like you'd go courting and you'd have a nice evening someday, and then you'd have coffee drink with pals the next day, and you say, okay, here's everything that ever happened ever.
Great.
In the last 24 hours with me and my new mystery man.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we're like.
Yes, it is.
I don't know whether that's the Carrie Bradshaw effect. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like we all
7
just talk about it.
mojitos later, I was telling them about courting, that kind of thing.
Yeah. 7 mojitos later, yeah. Meanwhile, across town on Drury Street, Shane, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I find it weird when, like, I feel like you could see a comedian do a joke being like, and that's what the Irish are like. The Irish are like, hang on, you in the corner, come over here, let's fucking have a chat, come on over here. And then you get another comedian be like, and that's what the Irish are like. You're like, oh Jesus, don't talk to me. Jesus, I don't want to talk to you. Right. It feels like you could we are so on the fucking edge of our seat to burst into an ole, ole, ole. We will adopt any kind of personality trait as being Irish. And it's very hard if you just followed by what comedians say Irish people do.
Well, if you look at American comedy, it's the same observational thing, but instead of saying Irish people, they just say people. They say we. And then they insert the thing. So actually, what we perceive as being like specifically Irish is really just human beings in this current day and age. And there are differences, and Jesus Christ, my whole comedy set is all about that kind of stuff. But like
good for you.
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah. They're like this, no. And they're like, ha ha ha.
Don't, that's his closer.
Sorry,
don't,
but
don't
you buy tickets. But yeah, like I do think a lot of stuff that we kind of say is specifically Irish is kind of just a certain type of a person, and we're just describing that. And I guess maybe as a people, we don't feel confident enough to speak about the whole world as if we what is it as funny in an Irish club if you're not. It kind of makes it like a kind of little bit. This is our thing, and then when it's our thing, it's kind of funnier, and it feels like a bit more specific. Whereas most of the stuff that I say probably very similar for English people. Or Scottish people.
I feel like every country says...
No, it never was. Yeah.
I feel like every country... they say only in Ireland.
Yeah.
I feel like every country says that. Only in Ireland.
Well, I did think the Tomato Bridge was only in Ireland. That's only... Look, if you know, you know. But the Tomato Bridge, that's a fundamentally Irish thing. If you don't get it, you don't get it. But I feel
like... But the Cherry Tomato Bridge...
No.
You don't think that happened in Glasgow?
Never. Oh, my God. Look, do they have the wit? Or
Glasgow, they do.
For the cherry tomato, look, I'm not saying they're not witty, but for the cherry tomato bridge, I'm kind of doing a bit here because I find the cherry bridge thing a bit naff.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
But I feel like people would adopt that and be like, actually, only in Ireland would you have a bloody cherry tomato bridge,
Yeah, you're right.
Even though you'd have a padlock bridge, and all these countries seem to be like, this is the padlock bridge, But they
don't like them. They're getting rid of the padlock bridges. They're weighing them down. That's just the thing.
Bridges.
Yeah.
No one cares about your relationship. Can I just say that? So I agree with that.
Bring out the key
Cut
master.
all the locks. No one cares.
What about two old lovers who only have a week to live, and then they go onto the bridge, and theirs is the lock that breaks the bridge, and they both.
I will say you've done a terrible job at trying to convince us here. You've told that so poorly.
And then they fall into the river. Into the depths of the icy water, but in a romantic moment, and there's classical music playing.
And that's so Irish, isn't it? Isn't that so Irish? Just everyone's putting that locking and dying in the water.
Yeah, we're always slagging each other. That's the thing. You can't say that in Ireland. You can't do it in Ireland. If you wear a hat, everyone says to you, "Oh, who's your man with the hat?" Bears your rat.
The bridge breaks. It falls down. It goes Wheeet Pong. It goes down.
Yeah.
Of course, if we tried the Lovelock Bridge in Ireland, of course, everyone they'd lock our bike to us.
They skip it out. A rubber band.
Bloody Lovelock. I love getting locked. That's what they say. Oh, only that bridge.
What we like, we're thick.
What we like,
we're thick.
I hate her. I don't like her. I hate her. Do 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 do.
What song is that?
Do do. I don't know. It's like
watching in slow motion.
Yeah.
Oh, take my breath away.
The Sleaze Does. What's that song?
Who's Take My Breath Away by Berlin.
Berlin?
Mm-hmm.
Other famous version, of course, by Jessica Simpson.
That was. Have you seen Jessica Simpson singing?
Oh, it's a tough old go there.
We thought that was good. at the time.
She's just shouting hard.
And it's that sound in the right dance, coming sound down.
Was Nick Lachey abusive in retrospect?
I wouldn't think physically, but I think probably he was a bit bullyish in that relationship.
Sure.
Not for me to say, and I mean, I haven't watched those tapes in 20 years, but I will say I do think Nick Lachey was sometimes cruel and dismissive, and also perhaps put her in a box of that she's an idiot. She was also like 22 when that show was on TV.
Are you joking me?
Wild.
That show, the Jessica Nick one. She was 22.
She was like 22 or something like that. Yeah, I know.
Do you know what, Killian, at your gig the other week, I realised how good of a gig it was when in the wonderful Abbey Tavern on Howth, Killian gave me a bit of a dig out and kind of allowed me to.
It's a lovely
support him.
night in the Abbey Tavern.
It's a lovely night. It was so good that even this joke people laughed at. I said, anyone watching the old rugby match there, I tell you, I felt for those bloody Italians. The ref was throwing so many yellows at them, they thought they were in The Simpsons. And I've told the joke.
He told me that before the show.
And
I famously an easy laugher.
Yeah.
Stayed very silent, and I said,
Very silent.
do you have any others?
Yeah. And even like, for that not to land on you.
Yeah.
When
I mean,
just
that should have told you.
Yeah, I know. But I said it on stage, and I think because I messed up the delivery, they laughed a little bit. So that's how good the audience were, that they even gave me the courtesy laugh.
Getting Tony to support on the North Side is something I will be apprehensive of doing in the future, because I announced him, and then some people started chanting, Tony. And I was like, oh, nice, they're on his side. This should be a bit easier, because you always want the support acts to go well. And then his first joke lands, kills, and I'm smiling. And then, 3 or 4 minutes into his set, I was like, all right, slow down now, horse.
I've only got one speed.
And then I had to leave. I was like, this is ridiculous. He's absolutely smashing. I was like, they're going to like him more than me.
I know, you bloody smashed it as well. I have to say, you bloody did. We had a great time. We had a great time at the gig there, me and Killian.
I really felt like there was nothing missing.
I'm glad that you guys have such a good time, and I just go off and do my own show by myself without either of you. I did enjoy. What gig was I text you guys?
You would have been in Newbridge, no? Or?
Was I in Newbridge and you were somewhere else? And I was like, I like the idea. I feel a sense of comfort, because doing the shows, even though I've done this show many, many times now, I still find it very stressful in the actual moment of it. Like the day I'm kind of okay now, but I take some comfort and some solace knowing that my pals are also, like, I texted Peter McGann. He was in Kilkenny and I was in Galway, and I was like, we're going to be spouting our shit simultaneously. He was like, I love it, and I was like, I do love it.
Nice.
I love that when I'm up on stage and you're working and you're trying hard and hope for the best, and like every show's different, and I was like, someone else is somewhere else in this little island, and they're also spouting their shite and selling their wares, peddling their wares, spreading the message. And I was like, there's some comfort in that, because it is very solo, the stand-up. It is very, and can be, there's lots of people there, you have other people on the bill with you, all that kind of stuff, but ultimately you go out alone. It's on you to sort it out, and not everyone has a good gig every time, and then you don't want to be that guy, but then sometimes you are.
And there's a lot of eating chips in a car. People don't realise.
I don't do that. I don't eat. I'm finding it really hard.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I just don't eat.
Before the show.
Don't eat before the show.
You have to find things you can eat.
I don't like, I'm going to just drive home. So I kind of haven't been eating very much. God. Yeah, I've started having a big meal in the afternoon, because that's sort of like, I'm like, well, if I eat a big meal in the afternoon.
Kind of like carb loading before a marathon.
Yeah.
You have to find things you can eat. I can eat like fruit. I can eat fruit, but I can't eat anything more substantial. I don't know. I don't know what the connection is between the nerves and your food or whatever.
I can't turn down a free meal, and I go for the biggest thing. I just can't do it. So from there, and they're like, "Would you like?" And I'm like, "Can I get a roast dinner, please?" Like, it could be half an hour before going on. And I'm a sluggish, absolutely.
Vicar Street, you go in and you support Tony. He'll have like a pig roasted on a stick with an apple in his mouth, and he just grabs a leg.
I do, like a king would.
Like Obelix.
Yes. Yeah, if you support Tony, you will get gout.
Yes, you will. I say no oranges anywhere, no vitamins. Is that the same as scurvy?
No, it is not the same as scurvy.
Sorry about that.
I met a man with gout, and he leaned into it, to be fair to him, because it's kind of...
To be fair to him.
Like, he leaned into it, because I think that's all you can do. And I was like, you've got gout. And he went, I've lived a wonderful life.
Oh, that's
wow.
He was I don't know if that's really how, like, if he really got gout from just drinking red wine and eating like a sort of medieval lord. But that's kind of the perception. People go, that's sort of how you get it. But I think there's probably other reasons.
When I was on tour in Australia, the UK comedian, I think he's doing material about it now, Dan Tiernan, he got gout. And then I was like, he was talking about his foot was sore. And I was like, do you have gout? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. And then he went to the doctor. He did have gout. And then we were sitting there, and the guy who brought me, the promoter who brought me, he brought me out for dinner. And so we went for the drink. And then Dan was there, and I was like, Dan has gout. And then your mum's like, I get gout all the time. And I was like, what the fuck? Everybody had gout. And your mum's like, I've never spoken this much about gout in my life. And he was absolutely delighted. There's
He's
a lot
English,
of gout.
isn't he?
No, Dan is English, but I was
gout.
trying to do Brit's gout.
Very good.
Brit's gout.
Very
Brit's
good.
gout.
Is it hard to get rid of gout?
I don't know anything further than that.
How
But
do you just have
I think it's not a big deal.
That's great.
lumbago, gout, all these things.
That's great.
Dropsy.
Everybody like a rapper.
Everybody in the
Rubella.
club getting dropsy. I often think of, you ever just having like a good meal and you're just like, you picture those kings, the gout ones, and they're eating like a big leg of turkey, probably with very little salt, certainly with no spice, and probably like a boiled potato, and they think this is feasting. Oh, look at them, more wine. That's probably been grown in England. You know what I mean? Probably not a very good grape, maybe bitter. And you'd be sitting, if you spend a $5 on chicken fried rice, it's better than any king in history's had.
Yes.
It's wild. We just have that just there. Just there. A fizzy drink? Crazy.
Could I get more 3 in one, please? Could you put the spicy chicken on top of the chicken balls?
Wild. Just it's very lucky. Very lucky for us.
It was so shit back then. God.
So
that
shit.
muddy medieval area, the dark area. It's area. And it's whip bong, it's everything. It's sack bong, everything.
Sack bomb, wick
I would
bomb.
hate it to live around then. If you've seen The Last Duel, what that's a shit era.
I know. And like you're sitting there in the lap of luxury with like a stone room with a fire and you still have your coat on, you're eating your dinner.
Yeah.
Fucking fuck off.
You're
No
having
way.
your
No
muddy
thank you.
face.
Can everyone stop inviting me to that? No thank you. I don't want it.
Like you look back at like the Rome, and they had issues as well, but like they had like a waterway system. They had heated baths. Just some medieval lord on a sort of hill in a
did
cold
underfloor
castle.
heating.
Did they have underfloor heating?
They did underfloor heating, some of the Romans, yeah? Underfloor.
Oh, wow.
There you
I
go.
would
Who did that for you?
love underfloor heating. I would love underfloor heating.
Oh my God,
I
I'd love it so
don't
much.
mind saying that. I don't care what that does to my image, but I would love underfloor heating.
Something
Poured
man's
concrete.
really like, isn't it? Underfloor heating.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Mm.
Underfloor heating.
I
Gorgeous.
remember
To
when we
lie
were
on a
younger,
floor and be
To
warm.
lie on a floor.
My uncle,
crazy?
lived in Ballymun, and when we were kids, we were very ignorant. We were like, he lives in Ballymun. We were like, oh, Ballymun or something like that, in a kind of ignorant way. And my mum was like, he has underfloor heating in Ballymun, so there you go.
Yes,
Actually,
lots of those flats built around the 60s, 70s, they have underfloor heating, and lots of the mums would dry the clothes by just putting them on the ground.
Brilliant.
Luxury.
They would dry the clothes, yeah, lovely.
that is unbelievable.
That's the thing, of course. They knocked down all those buildings. There was nothing wrong with the flats, nothing wrong with those buildings. It wasn't the buildings themselves that were the problem, but they knocked all them down. They weren't the problem. So
It was the government.
It was the government and
was
the
the government,
exclusion and the poverty. Now, we won't talk about that.
No,
because
we won't.
People will have
Back
things
to
say.
penises. We have 3
to
penises in
willies.
the room at the moment. 4. There's one hidden somewhere.
Do you think
And
your penis is particularly, if you were on that kind of like
what?
naked show where you have
Oh.
to show your thing?
I saw another episode of it.
Well, can I ask you, do you think you have a noticeable penis? A distinguishable penis?
If I was in America, maybe, because I still have my foreskin. So maybe I'd have a bit of like,
Cachet?
Hey, check that
Cachet.
out. Yeah.
she'd be like, oh, he's European. And then they'd be
cuter,
like,
I
he's
think.
actually Irish. And she'd be like, oh.
Oh. Well, actually, he's kind of German as well. Oh.
Killian, I think you should be careful. His line of questioning, he's trying to get you to show him.
No.
No.
You need
Ew.
to step back from this because he's getting giddy about it. He's like, do you think your penis... I mean, I don't know if you had it out somewhere. He's trying. So
Would I
just
be able to know?
keep an eye on him.
If I saw a picture of it, would
Keep
I know?
an eye on
If I did a
him.
podcast with you and you had it out, would I know? I don't know. Just these crazy thoughts I have. If we all got in a nip and did a podcast, it'd be weird. I don't know. We'll see.
You could probably... I feel like everyone thinks they can guess what people's penis is like, but you can't.
You never know. Do you know what we should do for a game? We should try and draw each other's penis based on what we think it looks like.
Okay, we have
And
to
then-
talk about something else. This is insane.
I was like, for a game, we could draw them. And then
we look at them.
we'd... I don't know, we could see...
And what is it? What is
me-
a photograph? But a form of drawing. A drawing of light.
I think we should have a live game of playing doctors.
Okay, you
Oh my
want to...
Tony's vasectomy, like he didn't actually go to like a proper doctor. He went to one of those Turkish lads who just sort of slap him around the face.
He's a barber.
Yeah,
you got a vasectomy of the barber.
I did, yeah.
He went to the Turkish lad and he was like, here's €50.
He revoluted his wife and
I
then...
revoluted his wife and I said, do what you can, right? Look, I don't care what kind of damage, just make sure I got no kids.
You brought your kids with you. Make
did.
them disappear as well.
No, I don't like that at all.
Sorry,
that kind of carry on.
I'm sorry.
Banter.
No.
Sorry.
There's a comedian called Stuart Laws in the UK. Do you know Stuart?
No.
Well, he doesn't want to have children at all, and he got a vasectomy like ahead of the game, not even in a relationship. He was like, right, sorting this right out right now. Just I thought that was interesting.
I read a thing about that. There was a big epidemic of young fellas getting vasectomies, and this doctor wouldn't actually do vasectomies for anyone under 30.
Really?
Just as his own policy. And also if he didn't have kids, he'd want to have a deep conversation with you.
That's none of his business.
Kind of is.
Conversation.
I don't know. That's none of his business.
No, well, I suppose he can decide who he chooses to.
I just feel there's a my body, my choice argument to be made there, which I agree with.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely. Do you think...
you should get one, by the way. You can never be too careful.
I know.
Yeah, you and Ray.
know.
How do you guys... You got to be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Got
know.
a few scares.
It's just that we just haven't got room for a kid, and we're just trying to be very careful. No, so just a reminder to everybody, you have to be an active listener to this podcast. And there are responsibilities that you've taken on by listening to this podcast, and you have to meet those responsibilities. And they include catfishing us. They include... I don't know, whatever else.
Well, it's, sending us little messages and commenting and saying how we look nice. I think that I don't mind saying that. I hear people here say that I look nice.
And to prove your attentiveness, you'll see on your screen now a bit of a questionnaire. What was the name of the sound that Killian's dad made?
And if you could, maybe we take auditions for new sounds for my dad, because this man is walking around with 2 sound effects for his entire life, his entire existence. A guitar sounds like Wheeet Pong. A baby crying sounds like Wheeet Pong. So if you could have, if some people could audition, just if you could send us voice.
Did he ever give you a good dish?
No, that was we do that, and he's like, "What is that noise?" So if you could just audition some new
Killian.
noises for my dad, very
That's a good
easy
idea.
for a German accent to say, because all he's got is Wheeet Pong, you know.
Can we propose a sound to your father and ask him to do a voice note of what he thinks that sounds like? Yeah, helicopter would be a good one. Dinosaur, like a T-Rex, proper, like that one.
Yeah.
You know the women who message us, then they're saying that they're expecting their babies and all this kind of stuff,
yes.
and that they're real. Because I met one, I forget which show was that now, but she was like, "I'm 4 weeks postpartum," and I was like, "And you came to this show?"
Wow.
I know, very generous of people to. I know she came for her own sake, but I feel like she came for me as a gift. But they're real, and I asked her, I was like, "Did you put the tiny earphones on the tiny? Like,
Yes.
we need
At
that
Inception. At Inception.
Yes.
conception."
Yes, we want to be in there. Play
No,
us instead
before
of
then.
Barry White. Play young hot guys.
When Leo goes into your head to give you the idea to have a kid.
Yeah.
Preconception, inception. You want to be, instead of playing that Edith Piaf song, it's just our podcast really loud.
Yeah.
Wheeet Pong. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. And we'd love to see you again soon. In fact, if you're in London, we'd love to see you. Tickets are almost gone for that gig. That
Very
is going to be
exciting.
on
May 11th.
May 11th.
In Leicester Square
Leicester
Theatre.
Square
We're
Theatre.
going to be on Broadway.
The West End.
West End. I knew it as I said it.
See you there. Bye.
They're attractive.
They're very attractive.
Hot and loud.
And a little bit sad.
He was the best guy around.
Oh my, is it hot in here or what?
You're an attractive guy.
It's the fabulous Tony Cantwell.
I'm talking about Shane Byrne.
Killian Sundermann!